Okay.
So I found this book on Amazon for those who are joining us. Welcome. So this book is for like children. How should parents talk to their kids? Hey, Gabriel.
Hi.
Hey, yeah. So kids need to know about this subject too, because every Hollywood, Disney, everybody's pushing their agenda towards children and this topic. When it comes to intimacy and marriage and all these adult topics that children should be okay to hear too. And this book is like how to teach kids about, naughty pictures. If they're like watching a show and then something shows up, it's like, what do kids do? And it's
Yeah.
like, how do parents talk about it? And this marriage couple, they're teaching some like marriage class. They ended up sharing that, like, oh, in our house we talk about it openly, so that when our children grow up, they don't go to school and some teenage kid tells them all about it. It's like you
Right.
want someone who's like, oh, my parents talk about it all the time at home. It's healthy, it's normal. And it's like, well, do you know where babies come from? Like, absolutely. They came out of mama right there. Well, do you want to see these pictures? It's like, no, thanks. It's like, I don't want to look at that. And you're training kids what's healthy and what's not, so that their friends don't end up teaching them and then perverting their minds to like making it a gross thing. And I think that's what is the worst part about marriage, is like you're taught that it's such a bad subject that you're afraid to even talk about it, and then you're like, so like this is taboo, we should never talk about it. And then everybody's kind of clueless, and then you go to the world and the world is like, just shows you way more than you need to know. But it's like, at least they're talking about it. And I've asked people who are so cool and have all the answers, they're so nervous about this subject that they never talk about it. But Heidi, did your family or your culture ever, you're Italian, did they ever talk about this openly, or was this subject addressed?
No, that's kind of why I had the conversation with you the other night. It really helped me because it was always just like a bad thing, and trying to keep us pure, it almost made it seem like it was a bad thing. And so it really kind of goes into marriage. It goes into when you're an adult, it kind of hang-ups you have to overcome. And yeah, it created a lot of issues in me for sure.
Because you're still approaching it with your mindsets, right? The way you were raised is how you're approaching it, versus, hey, everything is open to exploration and I want to get to know my whole life. I'm going to get to know my spouse. I'm going to get to know them. I'm going to explore. But intimacy is about connection, but a lot of people don't share that intimacy part.
Right.
Of like, how do I connect, or like what's right? Because it's easy to get stuck in a rut, and then you're like, I don't know if I want to stay married if it's going to keep going like downhill, like every day. It's like, isn't it supposed to be better with time? But
yeah,
anyway, but with children, Heidi, this is another subject that never gets brought up. With all the children and stuff, how do you guys try to carve out time? How does intimacy work with time and family and stuff like that?
I mean, you have to make time. You have to have boundaries with the kids, and have bedtime at a decent time, and you guys have your personal time at night in the evening before bed. And otherwise, kids are lingering till midnight. It's not happening. You got to be a little strict on that one.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and you need to have locked doors, right? You need to have locks on your door.
Yeah.
Like some families, like, we don't have that. Like, yes, we do. I'll install a deadbolt on there.
Deadbolts, locks.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody come take the kids sometimes, like for like a weekend to yourselves or anything like that?
No, we don't. All our family is not really involved, or they're on the East Coast. There's not really, that's kind of something my husband and I have really had issues with. Just trying to get dates even has been a challenge, trying to find sitters and and that's really important to reconnect, I think, to stay connected when you have kids.
Yeah, that's something my wife and I are trying to be really intentional about having a community, whether it's friends and family, to be around, to be able to, I'll take your kids, we'll babysit your kids this week, and babysit our kids next week, and allow each other to have date nights and weekends to ourselves. Because
exactly.
Right? Like, I don't know, we're just a year in. We heard from a lot of our friends who are parents that's really important.
But whenever we go visit Aaron and Heidi, we always try to give them a date night where they can get away, because it's hi Rainy, because it's kind of hard too to find that time or people you trust, or everyone's always busy. So, you know, it's
Yeah.
like Heidi gets to go on a date once every other month. You know,
Can you guys please come back? So we can have a date,
Come back now.
right?
I always
Yeah.
joke with Heidi when she steps out, even just to step out of the house from her 3 children. She'll step out of the house and be like, "Is this Hawaii? Does it feel like Hawaii out here?" You know, it's so tropical just to get away, even for a few minutes of just having
Yeah.
that stillness. You know, so we try to
It
take
is.
the kids on outings and stuff so she can have a house to herself to do
Mm-hmm.
normal things that she doesn't have time for.
That's good that you're building that community now, though, George, because then when you do have
Bob.
kids, oh, Bob, is your name Bob?
Ooh.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Bob, George,
It's
maybe that
funny.
was prophetic somehow. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
I mean, one of my sons, George.
Bob, sorry. But that's good that you're building that community now, though, for when you do have kids, and then you guys can trade off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really a blessing to have so many
Yeah.
people pouring into our lives to like set it up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
wait for the like right time, foundation,
Mm-hmm.
be able to continue to enjoy ourselves fully, like live like a full parental family life. So
Mhm.
yeah, but Heidi, I'm really interested in like what you're on this talk for. Like what sort of topics are you like wanting to talk about?
Anything.
Wow, you take off.
Sorry,
Sure.
it's like mommy mode too. Ouch! Oh, you just be okay. You're all right. You got all wet. You know, I'm just basically any tidbits you guys can give me on a guy's perspective on expectations in marriage and intimacy, and like what helps you guys. You know, I don't know. I'm not even sure, but
Yeah.
anything.
Bob,
Actually,
Did you
Paul
listen to
made
the
me
first
come
talk?
on. Actually, I'm gonna be honest. It's your fault, Paul. Yeah. He's like, will you come out?
Oh.
Sorry.
It's okay, Heidi.
What are you doing?
You should put
YouTube
myself
will
on mute.
flag us, bro.
He went, okay, go get your jammies on.
He's like
And
a
I'm
little
like,
chicken. Little butt cheeks
Here's a
running
little
around.
demo.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I
Perfect.
you guys just
Well, why did the screen turning?
This is perfect. Bob,
Great.
Bob, go, you can go ahead and try to tackle this subject because, but Bob asked the question, Heidi, did you get to see the first series that we
I
posted?
saw a little bit. I'm gonna put something on for the kids here.
Yay!
Yay!
I did see a little bit on YouTube. Okay, hold on,
Okay.
sorry. Hold on, I'm just gonna put it down. You guys talk.
Yeah, Bob, I definitely want you to be able to cover your expectations that you had for, here, let me mute her phone for a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely would want you to cover your expectations that you came into your relationship with, because like I said, Heidi's been married, 3 children, and it's just like most girls, and I wish most girls or more women would get on and share like what were their expectations, because guys are coming in wanting so much and girls are coming in like clueless, you know, and then their marriage turns into like, well, I didn't expect children right away because Heidi had kids right off the bat, you know.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, well, what's normal and what's right and what's wrong, and part of it's kind of an exploration. But
Yeah. Well, I think the word exploration is a great word to start with. And like what you were saying at the beginning, honest friendship. Honestly, it's really interesting to think about like what my expectations were, because I was just sort of along for the ride that God was bringing us on, and sort of just blown away that this wonderful, like perfect person for me came into my life, and how perfectly for us it all all of it took place. Everything took place, leading all the way up to getting married. But I guess since this is called sex talk, it's really about like not, well, expecting to talk about like what you're like, what you want in the bedroom, what you sort of, or like we were talking about in the first episode, exploring what's right for you guys, exploring what's out offline and what's online for you guys, not listening to like your Bible thumping great grandma about what to do, like talking about it to each other, and not at a granular level either, because that can take away a lot of the romance, but exploratively in a fun way, like, hey, like, what do you wish I did that I'm not doing? And being like ready to like hear something that you're not doing in a constructive way. Like, hey, you're not, I wish sometimes you'd wake me up like this. It's like, oh, okay. And then maybe, I
Wow,
mean,
I wish that too.
right.
Now that's a great Heidi. You're gonna be like the most amazing wife because we're giving you the downloads, and other women who listen. Like, if your husband wakes up one morning and you pounce on him when he's still kind of groggy, that's like the ultimate like dream. It's like, that's great. Versus like, well, I'm not in the mood. I'm not ready. I'm not okay. Well,
Oh, boy.
he is. Sometimes guys are ready to go in the morning. So sometimes that's a great thing, is just like you're there for him and you're engaging. So have you noticed any difference of you wanting to engage more or scheduling it? Because Bob says once he scheduled it with his wife, even if they
Mhm.
argued, he started like saying, yeah, but we scheduled it, and they still followed through on it with their argument. It built their marriage,
Yeah.
versus like, oh, we argued, so we shouldn't be intimate together. That's a trap, because you should still be intimate, and you shouldn't let arguments decide
Mhm.
what's right or wrong, because then if you always argue, then your marriage eventually will suffer because you'll never be intimate, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I would say you'd have to clear the air before you could be intimate, though, because there's a deeper
Yeah.
place there.
Sure,
I'd want to have, but I'm sure that's what you guys do. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, after you and I talked, it's been huge just to basically check in and be like, hey, what do you need? What do you want? Like, just be real open communication, not just like, okay, it
Going through the
really
rhythm.
helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to care about the other person and like, are you okay? What do you
Yeah.
need? So
That's right.
No,
And I
it's
think
been
that's
really
so
good.
important. Most people don't
Mhm.
do that because it's like, again, you were raised very, religious and proper, like you can't do anything, you can't talk about it. But
a
I'm
strength.
realizing Bob talks to his wife about everything. And
Mhm.
when he tells me, like, well, I talked to Paul about what we've done, and she's like, well, you're not supposed to. And he's
Mhm.
like, but do you? She's like, yeah, I tell my girlfriends everything. So is there a double standard, how the husband needs to romance the wife and love the wife, but does the wife
Mhm.
romance her husband? Does she
Mhm.
give him everything? Does she take care of him like that? Like, well, it's not
Mhm.
expected. Women are treated so highly in our culture, or we're taught to treat women more highly than men, and that's inappropriate too. There should be an equal
Mhm.
balance of respect to one another, kind of thing, and love.
Right. Mhm. That's true.
But anyway,
Yep.
Bob, how's working now that you've been talking more open with your wife? How's that been helping with
Well,
openness?
I just wanted to say, part of that openness, I mean, I know that it's much more difficult in like Christian circles to talk about something. I know that certain circles, I mean, it's like to certain things to do in the bedroom are like seen as like heretical, like wrong, like unclean, you know.
Mhm.
So that can be like a barrier, you don't want to, trying to be honest with each other, right? But there's like one thing that you wish that they did that maybe maybe you guys just like got back from church and somebody had like told a message about it, and like everyone was like, yeah, I love that message, especially that part. And then in your head you're thinking like, man, but like I don't agree with that. If I say that, I'm going to be labeled a heretic, I'm going to be labeled as unclean, and how can I bring this up to my wife? Like creating that space to like, and maybe it is, maybe it is something like she's like, no, like that's, I'm not okay with that. But like having that space to say like, I want to say this, and it may be something that you don't agree with, but I don't want you to, I want to create that safe space, like you can say that, and we're still best friends, and we can talk about it, and like where that comes from, and like why you want to do that, or like why I want to do this, and like what you're not doing, or like what I'm afraid to bring up to you. Like, I think that's a great place, I mean, in a marriage, to be when you're like bring up that thing that you're afraid to bring up.
Yeah.
It can be really hard sometimes, because you're like, are they gonna like look at me differently?
Yeah.
Are they like, is this gonna like change how they see me after like, and also after like so many years, you're like, what are you like? Are you a different person?
Yeah, that's right. If you don't want to shift your gears too drastically, husband gets home, Heidi's wearing all black, like a dominatrix. I'm gonna beat you now. It's like, whoa, what happened? No, this is a little too intense for me. Hey, there's like, and you don't want to like scare somebody, but you also want to create an atmosphere to where you're like, hey, honey, we haven't been intimate for a while. Could we try this or could we try that? And that's the whole trust I wanted to get into. If you don't have a trust in your family or in your, marriage to where you can share things, then you got to work on that. That's like, and it might be, maybe not tonight, but at least you sow the seed for, the weeks to come. Like, hey, could we try this one time? Or, one of the greatest gifts Heidi ever gave Noel and I when we first got married was like some lingerie for Noel. And I was like, we don't have any of that. Well, if the wife looks, because guys are creatures of sight, women need touching and kindness and words and affection, but guys are visual creatures. So if the wife looks very, visually, pleasing, then that helps, even though that thing might come off eventually, but she's still engaging you with looking nice. So I was like, that's such a great gift. Why don't women do that more? Like, well, my husband knows what it is, so I don't have to look nice for him. Heidi always looks nice, always does her hair and makeup, but there he is again.
There he is.
No,
He told us to keep it clean.
How about we just
Yeah, let's welcome everybody else that's come on. Tatiana, nice to have you here. Other guy.
that's Serge. That's my cousin Serge in there. Serge, say hi, say something, man. Get on the call.
Happy to have you.
How are you guys? Hey.
Good. You got that professional walkie, man. You're good to go.
Well, I realized, no, look. Oh gosh, how do you turn this thing around? Check this out. Yeah, there you go. See, so they just loaded my truck and I'm going to lay down because I got a 4 o'clock delivery this morning, and I laid down and I'm like, well, let me go see what's going on, because I know you're here, but I couldn't get away because I had to be next to the truck. You see what I'm saying? And so I kind of lay down for a second. Well, they've got an office thing. I can be in my truck, but I'm in Iowa right now, so it's hot. And I'm like, well, let me see if I can stay here. I went out to grab something to eat here. It's 9:30. I'm gonna lay down a little bit because I got to head out at 1. And I'm like,
share something real quick
you're still
while
on the
you're here.
call.
Share something.
What do you want me to share?
Hey, Bob's only been a year married, man. Got to give us some advice, bro. How you keeping the marriage flame strong?
Man, I just turned 16 years married.
Wow, I've never heard someone say it like that before.
16. All lingerie stuff, we don't even put anymore. Man, we don't even go out. We just candle, cereal, milk. We're good. It's simple now. Oh, look, I know that guy.
Hey.
Oh man. All right. Well, we need to tell each other how we need to take care of our families, our wives, and our kids, and our neighbors.
That's why we started this
No.
talk, so we can talk about how to love our neighbors.
Yeah, no.
Yes, sin's a very wide path. It takes the skinny and narrow to succeed.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just referring to the same stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So how's your narrow walk been with intimacy with your wife? You have a bunch of kids, right? And you're
No, I only
trucking.
have-
So how do
I
you
only
keep the
have
marriage
2.
flame alive with all the traveling that you're doing?
Till
Do you guys have a
today
schedule
and
or a
yesterday and the future, it's still the same. I don't know what to say. When your heart and mind's in the right place, you're always going to be right. If you are always a little, here and there, and you're never maybe repented or put the past back, you're going to find that that's going to come back up sometime later in life if you're a little bit weak, hey, or that's happened. But me, I was always the kind that I always knew who I was. So if I was to marry my wife, or when I was to marry my wife, or whoever she would be, I told myself no. My dad's still that former Soviet Union type, like, stay here and don't. So I knew, I'm going to be more different. My dad raised five boys, no girls, and my dad's the sixth. So my mom had a handful with us. We weren't bad. We just, it's just five boys. It's different. Or maybe,
So did
But,
you
I
guys
don't
wait
know.
until marriage?
Say it again.
Did you guys wait until marriage?
Everything all the way to marriage. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
yep.
then after that wedding night,
I had a girlfriend that I dated for a little bit. We were friends, but she lived in New York, and we met here in Bible school. I don't know if you remember Paul and Andre. I mean, I was here. The Rachuki guys, the Rachuk Church in Tacoma, I think, or Tacoma, or is it Seattle that they have? Anyways, they had a bunch of people come together, did like 4-month Bible class, and I met a girl that we were good. We're getting along great, but then everybody goes back to their hometowns. And then she just kind of slowly just not picking up the calls, and just she was nice, but it wasn't meant to be. We'll just leave it at that, and that's fine. And guess what? We're friends on Facebook. Everything's okay. Happy birthday. I don't even send that, But then my wife came along, and that was it. She's the oldest of 10. I'm the oldest of 5 boys. So there's a lot. Maybe I'm not being racist, and I'm not trying to be racist. Just more of the Slavic community. Some of it's more family oriented. The Asians are sometimes, the Hispanic. Maybe a lot of it has to do something to where it gave me an upbringing that was maybe a way that I saw that I thought was right and good. Had I grown up more of that, not against you, Bob, more, let's say I'm Americanized. Don't get me wrong, but maybe let's say I was born here. Maybe things and influence from the side would be different, comparing to me being from that former Soviet Union family mentality. And you and Paul were the same. We came from that same side, but don't get me wrong. I incorporated the good into my family. My dad also said, I might not be the best dad if I maybe spanked you or disciplined you the wrong way or something. Don't hold that at heart. He'd never hug me and say, I love you. You got your 2 whips and off he goes. Put everybody in the line. But that's not it. My mom would always walk in and say, Dad's wrong. Just you guys be the change. You guys are the ones that are going to start building your families. And that's true. I don't, I could be like my dad, come here and, hit all my kids and put everybody in a line and that's it. Well, then what? What am I sowing into my kids? Number one, they won't even see the love. They'll forget about the love. And like the world will feed you anything. It's both here and across this ocean. It's innocent. Anyways, but so no, me and my wife are good. She came out of 10 brothers and sisters. I came here, and her dad and mom are very family oriented. That's one thing that I like. Even when I was dating her, he'd hug with me. We're gonna go play pool, or we would go fishing. I'm not too of a fishing guy, but he's very active. I love guns, so he's like, and I'd share that story. I went out to shoot or something. He's like, you go out, but you don't take us. Keep in mind, she was 19 when all her brothers and sisters were down the list. So, let's say 18, 17, 14, 12. So there's no shooting there when we were 21 at that time, or 19, 20, right? So then when they got of age, one time he hugs me and let's just all the guys go. And we had this little guy thing. And then that's when I started seeing more of her dad, how he raised 10 kids and neither one of them went off a straight. Think about that. Sometimes we have one sibling or 2, and it's hard to hold those. And he, to me, was a good mentor. My dad was good. My mom always took us, Paul, Andre, how we always came to Washington. We'd always stop in Oregon. My mom always would push my dad to kind of like be a more of the spunky kind, which is good. And I'm kind of like that too. But lights went off in the warehouse. But anyways.
So is your wife American?
She's Ukrainian.
She's Ukrainian.
Yeah. The western part of Ukraine. So she's away from the war right now. Not she, but their family, far friends and stuff. They're on that western part. So everybody's like, oh, Ukraine. I'm like, no. And my mom's family side is from Moldova, which is where Odessa is, where that bombing Snake Island is. The next town in there is Odessa. So my mom, I think you guys too, right, Andre? Your mom and stuff, they're like from that Odessa area, or we have relatives there at least. Or now it's probably far relatives. But anyways, I don't know. I always was that kind. If you ask me my answer, I'm going to just spiel it all out. I told myself I wasn't going to.
Go ahead, Bob. You can interview, sir.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to get to the the meaty stuff. That's where.
Get to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
meat,
yeah, yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna throw it out there just how it is to me. I know Andre. What's that?
I said you're just talking about family. It's beautiful and wholesome, but
Well, it's just I've seen all of that. Love, holding hands, kiss, sex, kids, family, up, down, and hard. She was in college and working part time. I was working full time. We just bought a house within that next year of marriage. Man, $10 an hour for her, and I think it was $13 for me. Man, we had some family tribulations. And now I look back, that's nothing. But back then, when you're 21, we got married at 21.
Mhm.
That's like a whole different world. How do people pay mortgages? Man, that was another whole new world. But somehow you hold hand in hand. So I dated my wife almost 2 years in our family. Okay, so Slavic point of view, because Andre and Paul, they're kind of more Americanized. Nothing against you guys, because I'm just like you, but I still kind of tangle with my.
as you want. I'm just kidding.
Say it again.
No,
Say it again.
I said you can be as anti-American racist as you want.
No, I'm not. Because we are Slavic, so I kind of have that in our family. So it's just what's going to come out and share. So I can't share Americanized because I can share both. I kind of have both sides. So when my wife came to America 6 months, and then I met her within the 7th, 8th month because her sister was getting married to some far relative of mine. And then that's when I met my wife. I saw her come. There was family engagement, pastors were there, and I saw her and kind of opened my heart. Like, oh shoot, oh wow. And then the older people went home, and the parents were there, and just the young people kind of said, coffee, tea, and cake type of deal. And then we were preparing for the wedding because I was the groomsman and my wife was on the other side of his brother. So then after they got married, we were kind of kindling it more. And I'm like, hey, I kind of like you, this and that. But later on, speeding up ahead, my wife told me that when her dad saw me those few times and we were getting together, not me getting together, like the young people get together and prepare for the wedding. We'd go out to the store, we'd take her mom, we'd take her sister, we'd take one of their cousins. So it was we weren't by ourselves. When I mean it was me, like her family side. And her dad told her, I like that guy. And so that was a very good hook on the fish bait type deal, So I'm like, I won her dad basic. And that's what you want to do. Not that I did on purpose. I was just me.
So you're
that-
Catholic, right? So when you consummate your marriage, you guys use a sheet with a hole in it?
Yeah, we did. Yep. And you can't look in the eyes. You have to turn the lights off.
Did
have
you
to
make
turn
a
the
hole
lights
in the
off.
hole in the sheet?
You have to turn the lights off.
But
Yeah.
so
No,
what
no.
questions did you have, and like, how did you guys, like, you say now you guys don't use anything, you eat cereal in bed, and
Yeah, we're just simple. No. We're romantic. Don't get me wrong. We are.
how do you guys keep it fresh? How long have you guys been married?
16 February, we turned 16.
16 years. So how do you keep it
16
fresh?
years.
Do you need to
Man,
keep
that's
it
a
fresh?
lot. You know what? Honestly, you do need to keep it fresh. I'm just gonna move the motion lights in here. The warehouse guys went out somewhere. They're probably waiting for some trucks to come in so they can finish loading them. No, you do need to. So I've been gone on the road for 3 weeks. To say this, like Paul was saying, the guys are hungry or visual people. Yeah. Am I crazy? I know I'm working, so you don't bring stupid thoughts into your head. I just work, do my things. I talk to my wife. It's been a while. You haven't shown me something that I need to see. So maybe a slip of something might happen. We keep
That's
it
awesome.
cool. We
Yeah,
keep
that's
it
fun.
cool. It's really cool. It's really cool. She was next to my mom right now. I said, "Oh, baby, you look beautiful." I said, "Let me see something." She's like, "Shh, your mom's here." I said, "What? My mom's what? 12 years old or something?" You know my mom. She's pretty cool. My
Oh,
mom.
that's
Your mom
good.
is fully
Stuff,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no. So when we get back home, we need to, we'll go out and we'll rekindle stuff again, and just kids are starting to worry, Papa, when you're going to be home, and it's just this is how we make bread, I guess. I've got to be on the road now for a little bit because we've got some things we're trying to purchase, so and the fuel on the trucks is expensive, so things went up a little bit. So
Do you have friends
usually,
in the community that takes the kids from time to time for you, or like the parents take the kids for you?
you know what? We've been married for 16 years. 8 of it, we did not have kids. So now that we've seen Canada, Washington, Cancun, we've traveled a little bit together, nothing crazy. Now that we have kids, we try to take them with us. It brings us joy when I take them. Don't get me wrong. We do go out here and there. We'll go out with her sister and no kids and stuff. But now that we have kids, it's like we haven't had them. So they've missed out. There's like a portion of our life that we haven't had those kids, and we've just lived for ourselves. now that we have them, I enjoy when we go to the store and we all go as a family. I literally enjoy. Or I don't know, we do this or that, and the kids are there, and like we can go for a half-day trip to somewhere. Man, we miss the kids. We do miss them. Some people are like, no, I go on vacations with every year. We go 3 times a year. We go without kids. And that's fine. That's true. I do it. I would do it too, but I've got other things, and we all have different things. Paul has one, Andre has, and you have something else. If I can go 3-4 times a year on vacation, I would. 7 days or 10 days every 3 months, I could do that. I could, but I've got different priorities. But now that my kids are getting older, we're just focusing on them. Daughter just turned 8. My boy's 6. He'll be 7 in September. So I've got younger kids, but I'm an older dad. I just turned 38. I mean, spectrum of putting it that way, if you want to look at it.
No, yeah,
But
it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful that, I mean, that's what you want, you always want to be able, you always want to, you want to hang out with your kids and to
Yeah,
have them around
yeah.
all the time.
yeah, this part, what I've just told you, my dad's not a bad guy. He was just like, kids, family, house, work, chores, normal
He's a
stuff.
normal
He
guy,
loved-
dude. He's
It was just a
standard
regular guy. Yeah, it was just regular. There's some dads, like you said, they're in there. They're either basketball, soccer thingies. That's more of that Americanized that a lot of our Slavic people don't do or have not done. They do that now. My wife's brother's kids go to soccer. They're on those tournament teams. My boy right now is 6, and he's asking us to put him on the same soccer team. So we're waiting. Now or in the next near future, we're going to try to wing them to one of these game things. But my daughter plays violin for the last 3 years. So yeah, and I think that's normal. I think that's cool. Some of those old, I mean, it's not just probably our generation. Some of it could be the Indian generation, the Chinese generation, the Mexican people too. You see those regular mom and dads. They're like, oh yeah, okay. But now you see the younger culture, like me, you, Paul. We're more influenced in our kids and our family's lives. Our wife, we're being diligent to what our wife says and more focused on those things. My mom and dad are like, yeah, okay. Kind of like one of those things. Hey, go do this. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah doesn't go far. He's asleep, she goes to sleep, and you're done. I mean, my dad would go to sleep a little bit earlier sometimes. We'd pray, but my mom would like to stay up, and she'd stay up with us. I mean, of course, our parents work, don't get me wrong. But me and my wife, I mean, no, I can't go to bed and my wife's up. We go to bed together. Sick and other things, no problem. I say, babe, go ahead, I'll round up the kids. That happens, don't get me wrong. But yeah, we try to do everything together. We do. I enjoy going to Costco together, Walmart. Don't get me wrong, I do shopping on our own too. We do that too. Sisters or go out with her.
We're not going to get you wrong. Trust me.
No.
Listen to politically correct
There's-
show.
I've lived so long already, so everything's like it's okay. Okay, meaning that you can ask me any avenue, and I've gone through it. I know what it's like having a paycheck to paycheck, and then going back up. Wife going to school, staying up late. I'm helping her write essays, and we both go to work the next day or something, or things like that. That's leading up to the family and kids.
Let's throw the Bachelor till the Rapture in this conversation. You want to
Yeah, I
add
saw that.
anything
Who
in
is
here?
that?
Bachelor number 1.
Bachelor
What would you
number
describe as your perfect date?
Tanya,
Or
are you
your perfect
here?
marriage? Yeah. I'm seeing if the
Seriously?
Bachelor or if Andre wants to chime in with anything, because
Yeah,
you guys can always chat in the chat box, and then we can always read that if there's any questions. It's my sister Tanya.
I'm in Iowa. Tanya. It's 9:30 with us. I'm in Des Moines.
Oh, you're muted, Tatiana.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's 9:45 here in Oklahoma. Yeah.
I'm in Iowa. I'm just north of you
I'm in Kansas
in
City.
Des Moines.
What was
You're in
that?
Kansas City,
Yes, sir.
Missouri?
Yeah,
Oh, I just delivered my load today in Boone, Iowa,
me too.
Carl, Iowa.
He
What-
just delivered his load too.
All right.
No, load meaning my trailer load, and then
Dude, I got a whole family
Cherokee,
I'm talking
Iowa.
to. This is
By
a
Sue.
strange sort of sex talk. This is
Yeah.
the most Disney Plus sex talk I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's
right.
Disney. Yeah,
Maybe Disney Plus will ask us to join with our conversation. They might it'd be right up their alley. So,
it would be right up their alley. Yeah.
Sorry, Tatiana. What was your hello, by the way?
Hi.
to meet you.
I'm Paul's sister, Paul and Andre's sister that lives in Oklahoma. So
Yeah, and I'm cousins to all of
Yeah,
those 3 guys and people, yeah, through their dad and their mom. Their mom is my mom's friend when they were growing up as kids. college
ahead,
days
Co-
or high school days. Yeah.
Co-host Bob, you got any questions for Tanya now that she's on the line?
Yeah, my
Yeah,
question.
she's on the line.
So it's Tanya. So my question, Tanya, like, what do you do you have any thing you want to talk about? Like, do you have anything on your mind?
No, I'm just chilling.
I just want to listen.
I'm
Just
just
wanna
curious to what people have to say. So basically, it's all boiling down to communication and just trust and love and
Correct.
yeah, so it's all good.
You listened to the first talk?
Yeah, I was the anonymous.
You were anonymous.
Yeah, I
What
was.
did you think about
And
that?
I missed it. And I missed it when I realized, I'm like, shoot, I was somewhere on the road too, and I had the whole road to myself. And I'm like, kidding me. Then Paul's like, yeah, hey, check the YouTube out. We just did the video. I said, no, I forgot it. So I had to watch it. And you
Okay.
guys were talking a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what do you are you single? Are you with someone, Tanya? Are you
Yeah, I'm married, and so
10
my
kids.
husband and I are gonna have our 9-year wedding anniversary in June. So we have 2 kids, 7-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy, and yeah, so it's all good.
that's beautiful. Beautiful.
I wanted Andre to throw something in this pot too. Andre, you mentioned a very good topic last time about what about people, because Bob, you were asking the same question to like, well, were you intimate before marriage to Serge? You were asking him, or were you after, or did you wait?
Yeah.
What about when you get married and there's no intimacy or there's struggles or connections? Because I was talking with Andre about like people who've been hurt or wounded or something, or they've been in previous sexual relationships, and now they're trying to get married, and now it's like one or the other is having a hard time connecting. And I wanted Andre to speak to the subject because he helps a lot of folks with those kind of like traumas or issues, or how can you be intimate with one person and another person, and then you get in marriage and you're like, no, I've done that with my last lovers, I won't do it with you. And you're like, what? Go ahead, Andre, you're unmuted. Unmute yourself. There you
All
go.
right. Well, you see, this is what happens when you have a lot of sex. You create cute little babies.
Sex is one thing. It's making love.
Yeah,
look at that.
that's right.
It's making
That's
love.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So, definitely, I think when people do have sex before marriage, it does complicate a lot of things. Because a lot of people aren't secure in who they are and their identity, and when people do start getting sexually involved, they get really insecure and jealous and really codependent on their spouse for their happiness, because they don't know how to find it in who they are and in their relationship with God. And so it creates a lot of issues. And a lot of times when people have sex before marriage, or when people get abused or taken advantage of, it really shuts down that the baby's talking. It really shuts down that that place of vulnerability within them. And it's normally, when it does come out, it's normally out of a place of perversion or lust, and not out of purity and trust and that deep spiritual connection of intimacy with your spouse.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that then?
And so until you bring healing to the, here, Brittany, can you take him? Until you deal with the wounds of hurt and betrayal, and because a lot of times when people have I'm going to go into another room, but a lot of times when people have bad experiences sexually, or because in ministering to couples and being part of like an inner healing ministry a group that I was, we would minister to people who were abused, raped, molested. A lot of people about 70% of girls that come across in inner healing have been raped or molested as a child.
Mm.
And so a lot of times, and it's so common, it's ridiculous. It's probably, the percentage is probably more. And so there's always brokenness in that area of intimacy and sexuality. And when that part of your soul, your emotions in that area get damaged because of trauma, all of a sudden it creates a lot of frustration, because one spouse wants to do it, one spouse doesn't want to do it, you know, and then when you do it, you do it out of the wrong reasons. And so when we start addressing some of these wounds, it's a lot of the hurts and pains and trauma towards the spouse is still there, and that, or towards a abuser. And in order for, and I'm like, hey, I just want this connection with my wife, I just don't feel like it's there. And so my wife started going through inner healing, because she was abused when she was a child, and she still carried the shame and the feeling that she was dirty, feeling like she couldn't be, that sex is a shameful thing. And so she carried this, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? You know, I was a virgin, you know, and I never had any sexual issues, and so I wanted to have but to her, it was like, who wants to feel shame? Who wants to feel, because it's subconsciously in your body and your emotions, your body and your emotions carry the score of everything you've gone through. So what started it with me, I was like, hey, we're having issues in the area of intimacy, and I don't know how to fix it. I mean, we pray, we love Jesus, but how do you fix this area of woundedness and brokenness in the area of intimacy, and just having a closer relationship with, and so I reached out to Pastor Neil, who's a inner healing minister, and we began to pray and bring it before the Lord. And all of a sudden, once we began to address and shine the light, all of a sudden to realize that there's still hurt and anger and bitterness and resentment towards the abuser, towards the person. And so Brittany realized that, hey, I need to forgive my dad. I need, and then once we realize is that all of those hurts and angers, those are protection. I will never let another man take advantage of me. I will never let myself be put like this. So when you do that, even though I'm not that kind of man, it doesn't matter. She's like, I don't trust you. You see what happens? And so in inner healing and addressing the wounds and hurt and applying the blood of Jesus to that and asking the Lord, what's the truth? And what happened is that in bringing healing to those areas of intimacy, actually healed Brittany's relationship with God, that her whole spiritual eyes were opened, her giftings came online, and she began to operate in the realm of the spirit, be able to literally go into spiritual realms and having super powerful encounters with the Lord, and having this intimacy with the Lord. Once the Lord she started receiving healing in these areas. Wow. And then intimacy and everything turns out to be a thing of purity and of enjoyment, rather than it's something to be shamed or embarrassed about. And so there's a whole lot I can more share, but the thing is that, you know, if you could identify, you know, issues like that, you know, I always like try to.
But what's a quick way to deal with it? Like Bob, because we've been talking about this subject a lot. A lot of people don't come into marriage being virgins or single or pure-hearted. Yeah. Or, you know, but we've talked about some of these subjects, but what's, like, in a nutshell, can you give it like in a minute or two, if someone, because we're basically making an argument, is it good to stay, you know, single, keep your mind and your heart pure and your body pure before you get married? Or like, hey, who cares, sleep around and then get married and then hope your marriage will stick because you need the practice, you know, as they would say, you know, you got to test drive the car before you buy it. So do you test drive it, or do you stay pure to keep your heart pure? But Andre, what would be a quick way to then deal with that? Because I have a friend who, went through a divorce and her heart was so broken. And she's like, I never went through healing because I used to sleep with a lot of people. And then I got married, and me and my husband, before we got married, we slept together. And then we got married and our marriage was messed up. And she's like, I didn't know I needed to repent for sleeping with my husband before we got married. Because
Yeah.
that was unhealthy too. It's not pure. But we're gonna get married, so it doesn't matter. It does matter because their
Yeah.
heart's kind of impure and the conscience is afflicted. So what's a quick way to deal with that? Is there prayer or is there counseling for long sessions?
So,
How do you
so,
recommend?
so there is no quick way. How many times have you been broken, insecure? How many times have you been betrayed? All of those things, they stack in your soul. And what you do is you don't know how to deal with it. So you suppress it, suppress it, suppress it. And all of a sudden now you're walking around jealous, insecure, and all this because all you have years of trauma, years of sexual immorality, years of lust, years of pornography, right? So renewing the mind is what fixes all that. Finding the right, coming to, the more that you pursue purity and holiness and all this stuff, the more of the junk inside of you that you're believing and feeling will come up to the surface. And then God's going to show you, give you an opportunity to deal with it and to repent from it and to exchange those lies and those emotions for truth. The way that I realize that for me is when I pursue freedom in a certain area, I'm allowing and partnering with God to shine the light in this area within my soul and my emotions to bring truth and healing and clarity so I can feel and I can hear and I can believe as he does. And so if I'm feeling I was really insecure and really jealous person, especially when it came to my wife. And so the more that I brought healing and brought truth into those parts within my soul, then then those things didn't bother me anymore, and I started walking in more truth. But really, it's you have to address those things consciously and on purpose, and you need to bring truth into those areas. I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling dirty. I'm feeling shameful. I'm feeling lustful. I'm feeling like, why are you going to lust for fulfillment? What are you trying? And then you're realizing, you're like, I feel like that I'm not loved, so I'm trying to compensate, and so I'm trying to find it. And you're like, I see, there you go, that's the lie. So it's identifying the lies and exchanging it for the truth is what sets you free. It's the truth that sets us free. But the thing is, you have to seek after it. You have to pursue it. What worked for me will work for my wife, and what worked for many people that have been hurt and broken, raped, abused, molested. And I've seen the greatest freedom in these people is when they bring these hurts and traumas consciously, on purpose, to the Lord in a prayer and with intention to bring freedom and truth into that. Because there's in those every negative emotion or feeling, there's a lie tethered into that you're in agreement with. And so you're giving the enemy an authority and power over your sex life, over your emotions, over your intimacy, over in your thoughts, and why you always go to pornography or go to lust or whatever. So it's lust and all that stuff. That's not the problem. The problem is that why do you feel like you can't find it in the Lord, in that fulfillment, that connection? Because we're not supposed to have sex with our wife to receive a benefit for us. We should be already so fulfilled in love that we just want to please and love them and join in that. And so once your heart and those emotions get healed, and you're not operating out of a place of selfishness and seeking a fulfillment, because that's usually the core of our selfish nature, our old nature, and our old ego is just, it's all selfish. It's all trying to please me and make me happy. But the more whole and free you get in your pursuit of wholeness, which is holiness, not being like the world, but it's the more whole you get in that sonship and who you are in Christ and that new nature God's given you, then the more you're able to love others. And
Can you recommend like a link or something to listen to? out, you know, or like, is it counselors? Because say someone's like, oh my God, this is what I need. Now what? You
Yeah.
kind of baited the hook. Is there a
Yeah.
direction you can point people
So-
in like a minute, real quick?
Yeah, so what I would recommend is I highly recommend getting inner healing and counseling. And and breaking soul ties, breaking agreements with these sexual spirits. And I'm just telling you, I've dealt with them. I cast them out. I've seen people manifest. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff, like the spirits of ecstasy, desire, lust, perversion, rape. Like I've dealt with all these spirits. These spirits come up talking to me, and I'm casting these spirits out of these people and stuff like that. It's just it's crazy. And these people, they're clueless, and all of a sudden they're like, I feel all of this stuff, and it's just crazy that it's like through the brokenness of our identity and how we can make agreements with the enemy through the things that we've experienced in life. And the greatest thing that I've realized is to bring healing into these areas, is to deal with them on purpose. Begin to ask the Lord, why do I not feel love? Why do I feel like I'm going to pornography for comfort or fulfillment? Why am I going to sex to try to feel loved? What in me what am I lacking? And I would ask this, Lord, what am I lacking? What am I missing here? And hear that. And the Lord will tell you, is it because you think you're not enough? You feel that you're dirty. Well, Lord, why do I feel dirty? And then he'll show you a memory or whatever, and you're like, okay, Lord, I just repent for believing that lie, and not agreeing with the truth that I'm your child. And that's the process of renewing your mind and building that relationship with the Lord in these areas. But in the process, in the beginning, you don't know what's wrong with you. All you know is like, I feel shut off in this area, or I feel like I'm too horny, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's a balance that needs to happen within us. There's a place of balance. So what I would encourage people is to seek inner healing for the inner wounds, and to deal with the hurts, pains, and traumas, and to deal with the sexual assault, especially if you had multiple sexual partners and stuff. I'm just telling you, what happens in this spirit, you actually become one flesh with them, so their demons become your demons. And all of a sudden, it's that the way that happens is like when you team up and you connect with someone in that spiritual way, because it's a spiritual union, that you come in with someone. When they're feeling depressed, it's going to pull you down, make you feel depressed, and you don't know why you're feeling depressed. When they're getting attacked, you're going to feel like you're getting attacked. So you need to cut off and break all and close all the doors that you've opened yourself up to the enemy by dealing with those things. And sometimes you're like, I ask God to forgive me, but if I bring that person up, if you have any hurt, pain, anger, resentment, you're still tethered into that person. That person's still living inside of you. And therefore their demons are still living inside of you. So we need to get free from all of those things. And so I would encourage to go to get inner healing and counseling and deliverance, and purposely start dealing with those negative hurts, pains, and emotions.
Yeah, Andre, I love everything you're saying. And all that I would add to that is that my wife and I, we attended a trauma response. It's a Christian trauma response seminar, how to be I'm spacing on the word for it, but basically being there for someone when they disclose their trauma to you. And after we attended this, like one day, it was like 3 hours.
Mhm.
We, for the next few weeks, months, even like now, we were disclosing trauma to each other and being that person to hear their trauma. And this sort of circles back to the beginning of our conversation about being honest with each other. When you say something that you want to do in the bedroom, and being there for that person, because maybe it is something that's coming out of a spirit of lust or pornography or what have you. But if your significant other, there's trust and there's unconditional love there, and they know, or they discern that that's coming from them, instead of demonizing you and making you feel like an enemy and other separated. If they understand how to be there for you and respond to your trauma, they can help you to search out that root of that lie with God and listen to your story, and then it can lead to deep healing right there, right there and then.
Yeah.
My wife and I have actually, like after we did this trauma response, we went home and it was my trauma this day, her trauma the next day, my trauma this day, her trauma the next day, and we were
Yep.
like both crying each other day,
Yeah.
but getting like so much healing from this because we're
Yeah.
like going straight to the roots of it, bringing it straight to Jesus, putting his blood on it, and getting freed left, right, and center. And like I didn't know I had nearly as much trauma as I did.
Yeah.
Neither of us did. So yeah, go seeking out other people, but also if you can learn how, like I have notes still from this trauma response seminar that we did. That's just great stuff. I love this word here. Big trauma is like a pillar one person cannot carry, no matter how hard they try. And your job is just to help them carry that pillar, and then bring it to Jesus, of course. So yeah, that's all I have to add to
That's
that.
cool. No, that's beautiful. Yeah, what helps us to let go of those negative experiences and these things is once we feel validated and heard, and that love comes into those areas, and we bring the light and consciousness to this thing, then we're able to then subconsciously, because everything that we're holding on to, all of that, it's all in your subconscious. And so what happens is that once things come up and it comes up to the conscious mind, you're able to bring light to it. Then we're able to bring truth into those areas. And all of a sudden that shifts your emotions. And you can get rid of the shame, you can get rid of insecurity, you can get rid of all the hurts and pains from in areas of intimacy, but also in all other areas too. This goes throughout everything. And it's like dealing with your self-worth. You just, I feel ugly, I feel fat, I don't feel attractive, I feel like I'm this, and all of a sudden it's like you buy into that, and then that's going to also shut down your ability to be vulnerable and open with your spouse, because it's your own view. So it's like helping to seeing the weakness of your spouse and being able to be there, helping to carry the pillar, but able to bring light and love and truth into that area where they're able to realize that they no longer need those walls. They no longer need those protectors there. And
I think it's really helpful. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really helpful for people, because you can easily, like when, let's say you say something and it triggers like the trauma in your significant other. If you're not aware that you're triggering them, you can just see them as being like angry, like offensive, like really cruel, mean, offensive. But here's a quote: "Trauma is not what happens to you; it's how your body copes." I mean, it's the nervous system. It's your collapsed nervous system responding in a way to protect itself, just like you were saying before.
The defense mechanism. Yep, your protector's coming up.
And it's the cellular memory in your body. It's your subconscious protecting itself, whether it was from childhood or whatever. And I mean, it's not your. And I like this too. As I'm just reading over the notes from the thing, it's not your job to find all the details and fix them. It's your job to listen to their story and bring it to the fixer, Jesus.
That's right.
Just by shining the light on it all and letting them talk about it in full honesty and being there, that can just facilitate that process.
And that's what inner healing does. Personal one-on-one inner healing does, is that it's bringing these hurts and pains and traumas to the Lord, and then allowing Jesus to come in and reintegrate and bring healing and remove the trauma and replace it with with his, instead of all that shame, put what's the opposite of shame? Wholeness and purity and righteousness and confidence, and replacing all of those things. But so it's like you're either carrying that, and what all those things is just those are negative energies and frequencies you constantly carry within yourself. And so once we able to identify it, then it loses its power to pretty much run your house. It runs you, and you don't even realize it, because these are like triggers and response. So dealing with them on purpose and bringing them and then having them be heard and then allowing Jesus to come in and make the change within us. And then all of a sudden you come out of that and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so free. I feel so light. I don't know. I don't feel insecure anymore. It was because it wasn't you insecure. It was that part of you that carried the trauma because of the situation that made you insecure. But there was pain, there was unforgiveness, there was invalidation, there was all this stuff that had to be cleared and out of your subconscious, out of your emotions. And then when that happens, all of a sudden, now you're my wife's like, oh, I'm not insecure anymore. I'm like, why? And it's like, I don't know why, but what happened was we dealt with that part that carried that. So we addressed emotions. So the thing is, if you could find out what emotion you're dealing with, and then you're able to figure out where the root source and cause is, then there's a story behind that, and you're able to deal with that with the Lord and replace it with truth. And all of a sudden those triggers are gone. Now you're able to be your true self. No more veils, no more protectors, no more triggers. So it's important to deal with them and not waiting for God to deal with them when he's ready. You're like, well, we just get too comfortable. But the thing is that I see what is possible. I see the wholeness, the fruit. And so I pursue it. I want it, and so anything that triggers that's not love, joy, or peace, the Bible says, take those thoughts captive and bring it into obedience, into submission to Christ. So, I mean, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling unloved, I'm feeling whatever, so we need to take those and say, Lord, where is this coming from? What's the truth? And then in that, there's freedom, there's crying, there's repentance needed, there's truth needed. Well, then what's the truth? And you're like, I don't know. I just don't want to feel sad. Well, you're going to continue to feel sad until you figure out really who you are, And so it's a process. That's what I'm saying. It's not like like an inner healing line where Pastor Dave will lay his hands on you and you're healed. It's not like that. It's growing into wholeness through growing and dealing with these kinds of things. And the greatest thing is just loving people in their brokenness, loving them when they can't love themselves, believing in them, encouraging them until they're getting to the place where they're like, I can trust Jesus now.
Yeah. That's
and
great.
then,
Right.
sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just
No, that's good.
Hey, Andre, you see my pissed off emoji? you know what? You want to know one of my triggers?
Where's that coming from,
Ask
Paul?
you-
Why don't you apply what Andre's saying and ask the Lord where that's coming from?
Yeah. Bob, one of my triggers is asking me what my triggers are. That's one of my triggers.
Never gonna be healed.
So anyway, guys, I appreciate you. I didn't want to go too long on this because we still got plenty of sessions to go, because these are really deep topics, Andre, that you're covering, and I know people maybe would want to hear more on the next one and stuff like that, but I want to keep these things about an hour long and stuff. So next week, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific on the Thursday, people can jump on and invite their friends, invite girls or guys. They can be, anonymous, and they can listen in or ask questions, chatting, because there's so many topics that we can cover about the subject, because having a strong emotional health, mental health would really help a marriage, and it'll improve the intimacy. Because if the intimacy suffers, trust me, your marriage ain't going to last too long, So that's why we want to bring up things that cause marital troubles, address them, deal with them, talk about them openly. Andre's going really for the jugular of the internal things of what's causing it. I'm covering some of the basic things of just the fundamentals, of like being able to communicate and talk and express your heart from a healthy place. So anyway, guys, let's meet again on in a week and stuff like that. And if anyone has any closing thoughts.
Yeah, let's see if anyone, because I know I shared a lot, but let's see if anyone has any questions.
Go ahead.
There's so much food. Let me chew on it, and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So much good information.
Yeah, next week, hop on a call, invite, tell your wife to get on the call next week, Serge. I'd want to hear some dirt on you.
I know, I was thinking, no problem.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about jealousy or this and that. You can ask her. not that I'm gonna say it like rudely, like, oh, I really didn't care. You know what? If there was something that maybe she wanted to say or do, or maybe that would trigger, you rub in together when you're first married. What am I supposed to get hurt about it? What am I, life's short, then you die, they say, So, I even taught her that too. If you're upset, or that something happened here at work, or certain things of life push on you. You know what? It's gone. It was 8 hours ago. Let's say 9 to 5, your work type of typical. I said, you're home, family setting. You wind down. It's just you and your husband, or you and your kids, your family, and you just go from there. Well, yeah, not always is life or work perfect or pretty. It's not. I drive a truck. There's a lot of things that that maybe hinders my family or my kids. Somebody says, how do you do it? You can't. I said, you know what? Like I told you earlier, it's how I feed my family. And it's something that we sat down and talked. Do you want me to get up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and do a delivery to, I don't know, let's say Seattle to Tacoma or San Francisco to Sacramento. And then I come home in the evening. I wake up, I don't see the kids, and I come home late at night. She's like, no, you'll go. But then when I'm home, let's say I'm on the road for 7 or 8 days, but I'm home 5, 6 days. And we do whatever your heart desires. We can go left to park here. We can go to the ocean here. And if we go camping, I can take 7 to 10 days off. I guess they say there's no boss above me. So that's one, like my brother says, well, I want to do trucking to Victor. But his wife's told him, I can see that he shared it. That's something that's not for him. And it's true. It's not for everybody. That's what I do. You're good at math. You're good at engineering, or you're good at nursing. I'm okay with, I guess, with some of the stuff I'm not, and some stuff I can do a little better than you can. And my wife does numbers. She does accounting. That's her spectrum. Anything to do, I tell her, babe, just go ahead and add it. I can do it. I don't want to get into the you start putting a stack of paper. I look at it. I said, I'm lost. I flipped the second page. I said, I'm lost. But yet I pay the bills at home. But anyways.
Good. Appreciate you being here, Serge. We love your heart.
All
man.
right, guys.
Thanks for sharing. Anything in
Till
closing,
next
Bob?
time.
Just love you guys. Keep being intimate with each other and with God, and bless you all. I want to say something offensive. I'm not going to, since I'm talking to the whole Slavic family right now, and it feels weird.
Tell
Oh,
us
you're
about the
fine, don't worry.
ducks, Bob. Tell us about the ducks.
No, you can look that up on your own. And,
Yeah,
bring it
ducks
to
can be a
Jesus.
little rapey sometimes.
Yeah, bring that to Jesus in your own time.
Ducks
Bob,
are a
you come
little
from
crazy.
quick question. You come from a big family? What's your background? Mom, dad,
Oh,
brothers,
small-
sisters,
Small
dog,
family.
cat? I know you asked me.
Small family. Mom, dad, and they're both New Yorkers. Didn't
Okay.
know Jesus growing up. Sort of sent me to church twice a year for Easter and Christmas, and I just have a little
Oh,
sister.
wow.
But the Lord put on my heart right after my father passed away a few years ago, and right after that, the Lord put on my heart that gave me a vision, actually, of just
Mhm.
a huge family, basically like me, like tons of kids, their kids and their kids. And I was sort of at the head of this long table of all of my family. So I want to have 5 to 500 children. Maybe I know somebody, a prophet, who he was, he's the one who wed us, actually. And he just keeps, he's in his 70s, I think, and he just keeps adopting kids. He's had his own kids, like 5, and then he just keeps adopting kids. He's probably had like 20 kids. That sounds like a beautiful thing to do. Something like that would be great. And then yeah, just have a family reunion, just like a whole high school graduation. It'd be great.
Yeah, when we get together with her families, they've got 10. All are married except 2. And everyone's got 2 kids, 3, and one of her brothers has 4. We have 2, then there's 2, then 3, then 4 kids. 10 brothers and sisters, 8 of them have kids. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is, exactly. And there's no Christmas tree. Compared to our family, it becomes really small. And everybody gets together. But I enjoy it. We're very homey. It's good. It's something that I've kind of had in my heart, in my family, in my mind. I know we have 5 in ours, but it's cool.